From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen and proudly welcoming you to this Friday's edition of For the People on this August the 25th, 2017. It is cloudy here in the Bay Area, and in Tampa, we're pretty far away from Texas, way over 1,000 miles from Dallas, at least, and from Corpus Christi, perhaps even a little bit further. But this thing is a monster of a storm and has gotten a whole lot bigger, and mainly because the Gulf of Mexico waters are so warm, which I'm thinking about stocking up on some more water at Sam's a little bit later on this afternoon, because I would be really shocked if we don't see some of what Texas is getting here in the Bay Area. So we're going to have to just watch this and let this be a warning for any of you on the coastline that knows all about hurricanes too well and knows what these things can do. But the hurricane, once again, has grown into a Category 2. We talked about it yesterday and the day before. But as it's approaching Texas, it's got local officials sending a strong message out to the locals, and they're sparing and they're mincing no words. Get out now. And it's the first major hurricane, as they've been announcing, to hit Texas in nearly 9 years, labeled by forecasters as a life-threatening storm. And a lot of Texans are taking this seriously. Unfortunately, there's always those that just want to stay behind for whatever reason. But here's a little noise from some of the residents in Texas.
With the elevated seas, elevated tides, and things like that, we want people to stay off the water, really just stay in your homes. If you aren't being evacuated.
My concern is the flood. The water's coming, rising. We're trying to get some sandbags here to seal my house and my father's house, so that we can prevent any, water going in, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
So the recent, they got the planes that come in, and they've clocked the winds at 100 miles per hour, and is now a Category 2 storm. So they're basically saying to residents, if it's 10 feet of water, there's a good chance you will lose electricity. And Corpus Christi Mayor Jose McComb said, so you'll be on the island with no air conditioning, no water, no electricity. He says, we recommend in the strongest terms that you need to get out now, get to higher ground. And landfall there was predicted for late today, early Saturday, between Port O'Connor and Matagorda Bay, a 30-mile stretch of coastline about 70 miles northeast of Corpus Christi. So folks are batting down the hatches. You can see that people are putting up wood over the windows of their stores and getting ready for the worst of this. And it doesn't look too good. It looks like there's going to be some good damage there. You see the highways that are filling up, and a lot of people are hitting to the highways and just getting to higher ground, getting out of Dodge. That's what you have to do. Is get out of Dodge. So a lot of people are probably going to be staying out of state with family and friends, or looking for a hotel room. Can you imagine trying to book a hotel room? Yeah, forget about it. If you don't have one right now, you may have to stop at a truck stop and take a shower over there when you can't find one. I've done it many years ago where I couldn't find one. You take a nice shower. A lot of them are clean. Have a nice meal, and go to sleep in your car. And that's basically what you have to do. A lot of the truckers do it, but they have the king cabs, so they can put a bed together, and they're out. And some of them are really nice. Some of these over-the-road truckers, maybe you're one of them. They don't feel too bad for some of these truckers. I mean, even though they're away from family, they got pretty cozy in some of their trucks. And if you got one of them that's not too cozy, you got to say, hey, boss, I'm getting these loads there on time. What about hooking me up here? President's been in touch with the mayor there and the governor, Abbott of the state of Texas, speaking with FEMA. They're helping with the efforts right now ahead of the storm. Everything that they can do at the federal level is being done right now ahead of the storm. National Guard has been already deployed there, so they're definitely expecting some damage there and some needs to be taking place there. In Galveston, which was the hurricane of hurricanes, it was 1900, which is a big pointer, and that was the worst in U.S. history. City manager Brian Maxwell said that he was anticipating street flooding and higher than normal tides. He says, obviously, being on an island, everybody around here is kind of used to it. But they're not taking any chance. In Houston, one of the nation's most flood-prone cities, Bill Pennigan prepared his one-story home for what he expected would be its third invasion of floodwaters in as many years, and the fifth since 1983. He says, we know how to handle it. We handle it again, Pennigan said. He told his nervous 9-year-old son, people are stocking up the shelves with essentials as they prepare for Harvey, visiting home improvement stores and supermarkets. Alex Garcia, he says he bought water, bread, and other basics in the Houston suburb of Sugarland after dropping his daughter off at a college. He said grocery items were likely more available in Houston than back home in Corpus Christi, where Garcia, a beer distributor salesman, said stores were crazy. We'd be selling lots of beer, he laughed. And that's what's going on. And a lot of stores have basically shut the doors, saying closed till further notice. They've sold what they could sell. No more shipments coming in. Nobody's coming in. Not with this approaching storm and with the traffic and with the commotion and craziness going on. But it will be a shame if people do not heed the warnings from the mayor and to the governor and to those flood-prone areas, because people will die. And unfortunately, we've seen too many deaths from people not heeding the warnings. So they've been warned. They've been going door to door telling people they need to get out, but you're always going to get the folks that are just stubborn and just won't. So we pray that people will actually come to their senses before it's actually too late. Bad things happen a lot of times when you have a swimming pool. And if you're a parent, you have toddlers, you know how quick, when you turn your back, they can be from one end to the room to the other, and really surprised at how fast they can go. Well, that was such the case for a Louisiana couple. They had two twin cousins come and visit, and they had a son of their own. As the story goes here, Courtney Lee, they were telling the newspaper this whole account here. I just couldn't believe my eyes, but it does happen all the time, and it's no wonder why people are scared to put pools in because of this. Well, anyways, a Louisiana boy is being called a hero because he saved two cousins from drowning in a family pool Sunday, and here's the kicker. He himself did not know how to swim. Branson Lee, a first grader, and Calhoun, Louisiana, is being praised again for pulling his relatives, Caden and Isaac Kelly, too, from the pool after a pool party where the door to the area was left unlocked. Now, Courtney Lee, Branson's mother, told the newspaper it took, well, in her estimation, only minutes in the middle of saying goodbye to her sister before the twins were watching television, wandered to the pool, and were face down when Brandon went into action. They say Brandon, who does not know how to swim, jumped into the shallow end of the pool and managed to reach the twins and pull them out, according to ABC News. He says, my nephew happened to be walking outside because his little brother, who is at the same age as my boys, was wandering outside too. Jeannie Kelly was telling the News Star he saw his brother walk towards the pool and grabbed him. And that's when he saw my babies. He ran outside and grabbed them and pulled them up out of the pool and started yelling for us. She said the boys were blue and limp and called their survival a total miracle. Family members told ABC News that they had not realized that the boys had made their way to the pool area in such a short time. We ran out there, and they were laying on the side of the pool and were completely blue and completely lifeless. Could you imagine, folks? Well, here's the lucky part of the whole thing, besides the son's efforts. Her husband immediately fell down to his knees and started doing compressions. You see, he's a first responder. The twin boys started showing signs of consciousness again just when emergency crews arrived, and they were taken via helicopter to University Health in Shreveport, Louisiana. The two boys were playing with each other and appeared to be in good health. According to the News Star, Courtney Lee told the News Star that she was proud of the way her son reacted and his determination to save his cousins. He said he just dove in, Courtney Lee said to the newspaper. All he knew is he had to try to save them. It was a miraculous thing to know that at 6 years old, he didn't just scream and run away. He didn't just ignore it or stand there in shock. He just immediately acted and allowed God to do the rest. Wow. What a great story. Unfortunately, a lot of these stories don't have happy endings. Those two toddlers were lifeless. They were dying, and they could have died. And luckily, a miracle happened, and the boys' efforts, obviously, and then the father knowing how to revive the two toddlers, the two kids. Wow, it's just unbelievable. But now I understand when parents are freaked out and they just decide, no standing water, no retention pools, no saunas, no whirlpool, just nothing with water, no spas, nothing that the child could, because they're so quick. Now, I do applaud parents that are able to have their kids go to the early Y programs where, and this kills parents. If you've ever had this happen to your kid, but they put your toddler in the water and they kind of allow them to start sinking until they start saving themselves. And instinctively, they say that babies know how to swim. So if it ever happens to them later on, they know what to do. They know to stay afloat. Otherwise, they will go sinking to the bottom like these kids did. So if you have not had your children, your grandchildren, your nieces or nephews from this story, it had a happy ending. Don't let your child or your grandchild or child end up in the bottom of the pool because they don't know how to swim. May not be so lucky. And you know what? That's not overkill, telling people what to do with their kids. I mean, if you care about the child and your own, you got to say something. You got to say something. These things are reminders and wake-up calls for us to make sure that we do the right thing, because kids cannot think for themselves at that age. Luckily, a 6-year-old went into action and did the right thing. A lot of kids, they're not that brave. They're, I hate to say it, but they're just not that intelligent, or they just lock up in fear and they're frozen. And now a lot of human beings are like that. Even in adulthood, they freeze. They panic. And luckily that kid will go off and do some great things because of that attribute. That's an amazing thing. Here's another story of the lunacy of the left. You've probably heard already by now about ESPN and the reporter named Robert Lee. Britt McHenry, ESPN, pulling announcer Robert Lee off the game, he says, is a reflection of society. That's the former ESPN reporter Britt McHenry. He was telling Fox News' Tucker Carlson, as a matter of fact, this past Wednesday, that the network's decision to remove announcer Robert Lee from play-to-play duties from the University of Virginia football game was a reflection of society right now and how left-wing and PC it's gotten. Even your name given at birth or the possibility of a